I love it. I have an SEC honk who agrees with me. USC won the month of January.
You are Locked On Trojans, your daily podcast on the USC Trojans, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Fight on, everyone. I'm your host, Mark Polkin, and thank you for making Locked On USC part of the Locked On Network, part of your first listen every day. Whether you're watching the show on YouTube or wherever you want to download your podcast, never forget the show is free, and always remember how much I appreciate your support. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. New customers join today, and you're going to get $200 in bonus bets if your first bet of $5 or more wins. Visit FanDuel.com/locked on to get started. Greg McElroy, former Alabama quarterback and current ESPN college football honk, he agrees with me. USC won the month of January. Now, it's debatable, but I doubt any program upgraded its coaching staff more than USC did during the offseason, right? So just to remind my everyday listeners and my non-everyday listeners, you should become one. It's easy, free. Just click on the subscribe button if you're watching on YouTube. Riley walked over to Westwood, and he snatched away Antonlynn. UCLA's defensive coordinator is now USC's defensive coordinator. UCLA had one of the best defenses in the country in 2023. And then he convinced Lincoln Riley. He literally convinced a head coach to step down from his job and come to LA and coach USC's linebackers. Coach Riley wasn't done. He then went over and said, hey, Doug Belk, I know you're the defensive coordinator at the University of Houston right now. You know what? You come from Nick Saban's coaching tree. I want you to leave that job. I need you to come coach USC's secondary. Boom, done. Lincoln Riley wasn't done. He said, you know what? Got this really nice ice cream sundae put together, stacked up. I need a cherry. I need to put that on top. Eric Henderson, what are you doing? You're coaching the defensive line, LA Rams. Aaron Donald, Kobe Turner, rookie of the year possibility. Tell you what, why don't you come do the same thing at USC? And Lincoln Riley did all that while recruiting for the 2024 class. So January, you look up, you're like, whoa, look at USC's defensive staff. Lincoln Riley did something really good. And you kind of look at what he and the staff were able to put together as far as players with the recruiting class. When you add everything up, I will take that 18th ranked class and the staff upgrade, and I will be happy to plant my flag on the hill and say USC won the month of January. And when you think about it, it's kind of remarkable considering the way USC's 2023 season went. Greg McElroy's thesis behind the reason why he feels the same way I do is that, Coach Riley experienced what it feels like to hit rock bottom. The Trojans, and he thinks that USC is going to have a huge rebound season in 2024. I do too. I know some people like to call me a homer, but I really do like to look at things analytically in my own way. Kind of look at, all right, well, what does USC have against this team when they're playing that team? What are the advantages? Trust me, we're going to go over USC's preseason, where I'm going to think they're going to finish in the season schedule multiple times. Right now, though, let's just talk about what USC did during the offseason to get them to that next level. So Greg McElroy and myself think that USC is going to rebound strongly in 2024. But Greg wasn't just talking to himself when he was having this conversation. He was talking to Matt Barrie, another ESPN college football announcer. And I guess Matt was taking on the role of a wet towel, kind of saying, well, you know what, Greg, you were absolutely correct. Everything you said about what Lincoln Riley did in the offseason in January, getting that defensive staff up to snuff, you nailed it. And he's right. But what Greg McElroy did not bring up was any of the recruited players. That's where Matt Barrie stepped in. So he wasn't really being the wet towel. What he was doing is he was telling the truth. And he's echoing a lot of the things that I've been saying. Among them, California high school football is gaining a reputation, and it's not a good one. So Matt asked Greg this question. Does USC have the players to execute the new defensive mindset? He continued. I've spoken to several Pac-12 coaches recently and over the years, and those coaches don't believe or didn't believe that USC had any interest in hitting you, or they didn't like getting hit, or they weren't physical. They were during the Pete Carroll years. What California is known for in recruiting: quarterbacks, wide receivers, running backs. That's what California is known for. This is what Matt Barrie is saying. He continued, there are coaches around the country that believe the California player is much different than the Texas player, than the Big Ten player, than the SEC player, which is to say, physical with speed. So has Lincoln found a way to bring in the type of attitude player that he's going to need to succeed with that new defense and play in the Big Ten? I just don't believe that California high school player gets looked at past the 7-on-7 programs. That's how the California high school recruits are being perceived right now. They're 7-on-7 players. So Matt closed out with, find me a D lineman, find me a guy up front, find me a linebacker, find me a guy that used to beat the hell out of you at USC. Where are they? So Matt conceded, the staff is there at USC, but he said, find me the players. Has that changed? And he even mentioned that he spoke to a couple of high school California high school coaches, excuse me. And the California high school coaches are even admitting it's just different out here. So the question from Matt Barrie to Greg McElroy, and really the rhetorical question to you USC fans, where are the Dallas Turners in California? Where are the Will Anderson Juniors? That's the point he's making. I brought this up. So let's kind of peel back the layers a little bit with USC's 2024 class, which I think it's not great. It's not bad. It's good. It met its need. It filled its needs. However, of the 22 players that were committed in this class in 2024, USC's highest rated player out of California is a wide receiver, Xavier Jordan. Their highest rated defensive player from California is a defensive back, Marcellus Williams. When you get in the trenches, you got to get all the way down to Justin Tuaonu, who is an offensive lineman. He's their highest rated. 3-star offensive lineman from Huntington Beach, California. That's where we're at. This is why Coach Riley and the staff are spending so much time outside of their own front yard, outside of their own backyard, looking for the type of players that Matt Barrie was describing. They're looking for those dudes because there are so few of them left in California. So here's the thing. If USC can't buy them to keep them home, they have to go elsewhere. And when I say buy them, compete with that NIL package, especially when you're trying to sell your program that hasn't been playing defense. So now, if USC can start winning again, maybe the small pool of players that USC has to choose from in California, maybe they'll want to stay home and at a discounted rate. So again, yes, we've seen players that USC wanted, like an Aiden Braylon or Jericho Johnson from Northern California. But there wasn't a huge pool of those type of players that Matt Barrie was describing to Greg McElroy for Lincoln Riley to say, all right, man, we got a bunch of guys here in Southern California that I can choose from. I don't got to go to Georgia or Florida or Texas or the Big Ten country. Right now, he does. So while we all like to nitpick and cherry pick excuse me, and point out where USC needs to do better with their recruiting, specifically in the trenches. And you're saying, well, California's got plenty of players. Well, no, they don't. And the few that they do have, yeah, they have to hold on to them. But it shouldn't have to cost them an arm and a leg either. Happy Super Bowl to all who celebrate from FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Look, just a few days away, and you probably went to the store, probably got all your chips, all of your adult beverages. You know where you're going to be sitting on the couch. You're going to plop down, and you're just going to enjoy a football holiday, just like I am. And eventually, you're going to have to pick a winner. I'm hearing a lot of people picking the 49ers to beat the Chiefs. Well, FanDuel has so many ways for you to end the football season with a W. And maybe you want to end up with 2 Ws, maybe 3 wins. Well, not only can you bet on who will win Super Bowl 58, but FanDuel also has bets for, hey, check this out, which players are going to score a touchdown, how many points are going to be scored. And they got a whole bunch of other prop bets that you can jump in on. So new customers, join today, and you're going to get $200 in bonus bets if your first bet of $5 or more wins. Just visit FanDuel.com/locked-on to sign up. That's FanDuel.com/locked-on. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Go to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube and subscribe to the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel. Alex Grinch said, "What?" As if the USC defense didn't have a chip on their own shoulder. The Wisconsin Sports Information Department got their friends over at the Associated Press, AP, to write a fluff piece. It was their effort to kind of help rebuild Alex Grinch and his confidence. Well, I've got some of those quotes from Alex Grinch and others, and I'm going to kind of put my spin on what he said. Why am I bringing this up? Well, USC plays Wisconsin later this year, September 28th. And I just found some of these comments that Alex Grinch made interesting. And I figured, you know what? Let's talk about it. All right. So let's see where we go first. Right out of the box. Alex Grinch. What happens is when you don't have the success that you expect, you can circle that and highlight that. And it leaves a bad taste in your mouth. But it also creates a chip on your shoulder. I'm not sure there'd be anyone in the country with a bigger chip than what I have, end quote. I'm thinking maybe the guy who had to fire you, he's got a bad taste in his mouth too. So Alex Grinch is upset, right? Okay, he has a chip on his shoulder. And he said the last 2 years in that story that he spent coaching defense at USC, it's incentivized him. You know what I think that means? I think that means he's looking forward to his return to LA when USC hosts the Badgers end of September. Circle the calendar, September 28th. In his first 2 years at USC, the Trojans led the nation in turnover margin, but were 106th in yards allowed per game, over 420, and 124th in the nation in yards allowed per play, over 6.5. Yeah. Last year, USC ranked 119th in yards allowed per game, 436, almost 437 yards per game, and 121st in points allowed, 34.5. And eventually, Lincoln Riley said, enough's enough. He fired him in November. USC had lost at home to Washington. And in his final 2 games as the defensive coordinator, the defense gave up 101 points. It's an average of 50. Yeah, 50.5. Oof, terrible. So Alex Grinch told the AP writer, sometimes you get punched in the mouth, you try to stand tall, you set your jaw, and you get ready for what's next. Really? Rarely did I see USC's defense display any of those characteristics under Alex Grinch. I saw none of it, in fact. His new boss, head coach Luke Fickell, quote, Alex has phenomenal experience from across the college football landscape, and I'm excited for the schematic, recruiting, and coaching talents he'll bring to our defensive staff. Okay. So now, after coaching defenses at Washington State, Oklahoma, and USC, Grinch is going to join the Wisconsin program. And for the most part, they've been ranked, 11th or better, at least in these two stats. When it comes to yards per game, from 2019 through 2022, they were ranked 11th or higher. And then last year, they had a 7-6 record. They fell all the way down to 39th in that category. USC's defense, if they were 39th best in the country, we can only pray for that, right? So Alex Grinch is going to coach what he says, a veteran group of safeties for the Wisconsin Badgers. They're led by Hunter Wooler, had a team high 120 tackles last season. Is what Alex Grinch had to say. I think there's some experienced guys there, which is fun for me to turn on some film and to be able to see some guys running around playing the game the right way. And by and large, I think that's what the film would suggest. Okay. Did Alex Grinch just take a shot at the last group of safeties that he was responsible for coaching? That was my interpretation. The ones who did not watch film or want to watch Grinch's schematic talents, who tuned him out. This would have been my immediate follow-up question to Coach Alex Grinch if I heard that comment. Coach, when was the last time you actually had fun watching film of your guys? I mean, literally, the audacity of Alex Grinch to throw his players under the bus like that. I mean, was he implying that the players at USC were not hustling for him? I think at the end of his tenure, they weren't. In fact, they know they weren't. And if he was, guess what? You were their leader. Alex Grinch was also asked if he had circled the date on his calendar, USC versus Wisconsin, is what he said. He's just looking forward to the new opportunity. I'm excited to coach at Wisconsin. This is a pretty schedule coming up. And there's a lot of games to circle as you go through it. Look, no one is going to remember any of this in a day or two. But it is going to come up again when Wisconsin comes to town. At least the week leading up to that. It's going to come up. The storyline, can Alex Grinch read Lincoln Riley's mind? Close friends. Will it be sweet revenge for Grinch to show everyone that, it was the players at USC and it wasn't him? Here's what I hope. I hope Bryson Shaw has a huge game for USC. I hope the USC offense drops 40-plus points. And I hope Alex Grinch has to answer a post-game question. Something he didn't have to do at USC. And it was because Lincoln Riley was protecting him because his defense was so bad. Ever been to Vegas? Well, if you're going to Las Vegas for the big game, what would you do with an extra $100? GameTime is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all sports, music, comedy, and theater events near you. And right now, GameTime users will get $100 off when they buy a big game ticket with code Vegas100. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from the seat, and their best price guarantee, GameTime takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. GameTime is easy to find and they're easy to buy tickets because their app shows you what the view from your seat's going to look like. You're going to get the lowest price guarantee, and they even give you cancellation protection. So GameTime takes the guesswork out of buying your tickets. Right now, GameTime users, you're going to get $100 off a big game ticket with code Vegas100. Terms do apply. Just download the GameTime app, use code V like Victor, E like Edward, G like GameTime, A like Apple, S like Sam, 100 for $100 off a big game ticket. Or if you're not going to the game, use code Locked On for $20 off your first purchase. Download the GameTime app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right, before we get out of here, let's talk a little bit of hoops. Yep. Deep breath. A sold-out Haas Pavilion, USC, traveled up to Cal. Cal sold out for a 3-8 USC team. Well, they're 3-9 now. They sold him out because Bronny James was coming to town, and Bronny's father, LeBron. This was Cal's first sellout in 7 years for a USC team that fell to 3-9 in conference. The crowd left happy. They broke USC's one-game winning streak. Remember, USC won their last game at home against Oregon State. The 11th place team in conference. USC still remains firmly in last place. So not only did USC snap their one-game losing streak, Cal snapped their personal 11-game losing streak to the Trojans. They beat USC 83-77 in overtime. Really hard game to watch if you're a USC fan, especially that first half. Number one, Bill Walton was calling the game on TV. So the first 4 minutes was Bill Walton just washing LeBron's basketball career up and down, and it was just making my ears bleed. Not so much about LeBron as much as just having to listen to Bill Walton talk. Isaiah Collier returned first time. He's missed the last 6 games. And then when he got on the court, he missed his first 2 shots, and he also missed his first 2 free throws. He did end up leading the team with 20 points, although he was only 3 for 14 from the field. He scored all of his points at the free throw line, 12 for 16. That's his game right now. I've said it before. He puts his head down, gets to the basket, and tries to draw fouls. He has no confidence shooting from the outside whatsoever. I mean, you watch him play, it's like even defenders sag off of him, but he's got such a quick first step, and he uses his body so well. He's going to get to the free throw line when he wants. So he was supposed to have some minute limitations. He played 27 minutes in the game. The only other Trojan who scored in double figures, DJ Rodman. He had 17 points. Boogie, he had 8 points, but 3 of 9 shooting. He has not been the same since he's come back. The story of this game, at least in the first half, missed free throws for USC and poor rebounding. But what else is new, right? When Cal had a 27-21 lead in the first half, it's partially and mostly because they held a 15-5 rebounding advantage, including 5-1 on the offensive glass. Yeah, I know. Broken record, Mark. When Cal extended their lead to 36-25, Cal had 20 rebounds. USC had a total of 6. That is pathetic. This is why Coach Enfield had every single right to call out his players and call them a poor defensive rebounding team. And I do not need him to tell me that this year's team doesn't play consistent defense. I watch it. I see it. It disgusts me. They gave up 42 points in the first half, and they trailed by 11, 42-31 at halftime. Not only was Cal beating USC on the scoreboard, they were beating him up on the glass, 24-9. In fact, USC had 9 total rebounds. Cal had 9 offensive rebounds. At the end of the game, Cal doubled him up, 54-27 on the boards. I can only imagine what Andy Enfield told the team after the game. Now, USC opened up the second half. They allowed what else? What do? They give up an offensive rebound that turned into a three-pointer. USC trailed 45-31. Cal eventually extended that up to 16 points. That was the biggest lead of the game. And then USC decided, you know what? We'll play some defense now. And it was obvious because they gave up 41 points in the first half. When there was just a minute left in the second half, they'd only given up 26 points. And the game was tied. They had a chance to win it. Yeah. They didn't have to go to overtime. Like I said, they had a chance to win it in overtime. But Collier missed on, 9 free throws? Well, he missed a free throw in regulation. It was one of the 9. USC, they were 15 for 24 from the free throw line. Kobe Johnson, again, USC had a chance to win it in regulation. He missed an easy layup late in the second half. He's having a really difficult time trying to figure out what his role on this team is. He's a team captain, but he's not a good ball handler. He is a streaky shooter from the outside, and he doesn't block out. He does not rebound well. Very good defender when he wants to be. Look, they would have been fortunate had they won the game. But what happened was Cal just kept making timely threes. They were 11 for 26 for the game. Terrible rebounding. USC only had 6 turnovers. But when you're not shooting well from the outside, I think they were 40% for the game, and you cannot rebound, you're not going to win. You're just not. So now they have to play Stanford on Saturday, who, by the way, lost at home to UCLA earlier in the evening on Thursday. Again, I hope USC can get the split in this Bay Area trip, but if they lose to Stanford, I'm not sure there's another win on that schedule. I'm not sure where they're going to find it. Meantime, got school across town. Yeah, they're a game above 500 now. They're actually one of the top 4 teams in the conference. This was supposed to be the year that USC basketball stepped over UCLA. But again, it is what it is. I don't want to put a whole lot of blame at Coach Enfield's feet. But this team, for whatever reason, I know it's been injured. They just don't play well together. I don't know what it is. I'm trying to put my finger on it. I think I know what the reason is. I'll talk about that more after the season. They're still going. We'll see what happens. Maybe they catch a hot streak. Maybe they win the Pac-12 tournament. Probably not. Meanwhile, USC is now 9-13 on the season. Right? Is that right? 9-13? 9-14? 3-9 in conference play. Oh, well. I'll be back with another episode of Locked on USC tomorrow. And you know what? Before I get out of here, National Signing Day just wrapped up. I know I'm putting it at the end of the show, but it was so anticlimactic. And that's what the February signing day has turned into. USC signed 3 players. Talked about Mana yesterday. Talked about Jaden Walker, the linebacker from the state of Michigan. He signed. And Isaiah Rubin, the cornerback from Los Alamitos High School, he faxed in his letter of intent as well. So, Mana Bula. I need to have it in front of me. Bulabalavu. Mana Bulabalavu. I got it right 2 out of 3 times. Is one of the 3. Jaden Walker and Isaiah Rubin. There you go. Your 2024 recruiting class complete. I'll be back with another episode of Locked on USC tomorrow. We'll see what we're going to talk about till then. Come back. I'll see you then. If you like what you like,